Good morning, everyone. Please rise in body and or spirit for a hymn. We're going to sing number 15 in the gray hymnal, The Lone Wild Bird. 15. And you'll notice at our keyboard this morning, Lisa Gross is away for a couple of weeks, and welcome Lucy Banner.
Thank you for that. Kevin did that one for me because it's one of my favorite hymns ever, so that made me very happy. Thank you. Good morning. Welcome to First Parish Brewster. We are a Unitarian Universalist welcoming congregation of people of diverse philosophies and beliefs, people of various cultures and races, sexual orientations, gender identities, abilities, and socioeconomic backgrounds. We join together today, bringing our multitude of diverse sorrows and joys, gifts and challenges to a day of particular complexity, a day with all the emotions that Mother's Day might elicit in us, in a week when fears for reproductive rights, gender justice, and the continued struggle for peace are all present. Today, as on every day we gather, may this be a place of rest and restoration on your journey. For those of you who may be first-time visitors this morning, welcome on this morning which we are making sacred by our presence together. Let's join as well in greeting everyone on the virtual stream. We're glad you're here. Our services are recorded and available on our YouTube channel midweek. I am the Reverend Bran Lennox. I go by gender-neutral pronouns like they and them, and I'm honored to be welcoming you to the service today with our worship associate Elenita Muniz, the Director of Music, Kevin Badanas, and Director of Lifespan Education, Twinks Hastings. I also want to welcome Lucy Banner as our pianist this morning. There is a misprint in your order of service. Lisa Gross is off today. Yeah, so we are very blessed with Lucy's gifts. At this time, our masking policy as a congregation is that speakers may temporarily remove their masks while at the pulpit to increase accessibility for those with hearing difficulties, but otherwise, everyone over the age of 4 must continue to wear a mask over their nose and their mouth while in our buildings. In order to give the best welcome we can give, please wear your name tag or fill out a sticker name tag by the entrances. We welcome the noises, movements, and mirth that little ones bring in our services. Please take this moment, however, to check that your cell phone is silent. In community news announcements, there is a membership signing opportunity this Sunday. If you have been thinking about becoming a member, now is your chance to sign the book. Frank Ray from the membership committee will be staffing the membership table with the big welcome sign today. Look for the table outside on the plaza, I believe, since it's nice out. The Spring Festival is ongoing. Online bidding for auction items began yesterday, and the event will culminate in an in-person celebration and auction next weekend. We will have a concurrent plant sale and bake sale next Sunday, so come enjoy the afternoon together. Thanks everyone for your generosity and enthusiasm. To learn more, contact Debbie Klein from the fundraising committee. We are looking forward to the return of our minister. Reverend Jessica has been on leave since December, and next week will be her first Sunday back in the pulpit. I think that deserves some applause. Come join Reverend Jessica and Twinks Hastings for the 10 a.m. service next Sunday, May 15th. All are welcome. We now have a special update on stewardship from Susan Smith, Diane Pansier, and Pat Stover.
Good morning. Good morning. Is it on? Yep. Ours is a generous congregation, which we see play out in so many ways, particularly during this challenging time. You, the members and friends of the community, contribute, not a cliche, your time, your talent, and your treasure to First Parish. You volunteer, you support our thrift store and our fundraisers, and you donate your money through pledges and the Sunday offertory.
I'm speaking to you as co-chair of the Stewardship Committee. As I very much hope you are all aware, our formal Stewardship Pledge campaign occurred during the whole month of March. Many of you responded with great generosity, and we thank you. But due to a combination of factors, among them the very challenging 2+ years of pandemic, our settled minister away on bereavement leave, the troubling state of the world, and inflation probably, the number of pledge units, that is, the number of single people or couples pledging together, is down significantly this year compared to last year at this time. There is a shortfall of $43,000 in meeting our projected budget. Therefore, we are asking that if you intend to pledge and have just not made it a priority, that you do so now ASAP, because it is very difficult to build a budget to present at the annual meeting in June when we don't know how much pledged money we have to work with. And if there are any among you who have already pledged, but who might be able and willing to stretch a little bit more and add to your pledge, we would be most appreciative. You can make a new pledge online, but it's a little more complicated now because the formal drive is over. You go to the FBBU website, hit on the heading at the top of the page, About Us, and a menu drops down. You can choose Stewardship 2223, and you will find the link to the pledge form, and you will be making a new pledge. Our administrator, Karina, has added a section called Notes where you can say, this is a new revised pledge. Or if this is all too much, just email Karina with your new pledge figures. We thank you all so very much.
Hello, good morning. I'm speaking as treasurer of the church. One of our values is to properly compensate our wonderful staff, arguably our most essential resource. We've increased salary and benefits during the pandemic thanks to the generous pledges from First Parish Brewster members, our thrift store, fundraising events, and boosted by COVID-related government funds. We're striving to get all staff up to UUA guidelines. To simply maintain the improvements we've made over the past few years, even if just for one more year, we're counting on pledging to hit the stewardship target. We're counting on one another. We're counting on you.
We feel it is important that you, the congregation, be fully aware of the challenges we face and have not yet met. We want to inspire you to contribute to our successful solution in whatever way is right for you. Together we can meet the challenge of the time and achieve our shared goals. Thank you.
Thank you for your inspiring work, all of you, and welcome once more to our service today. It is so good to be together.
As I did the last time, I'm doing this call to worship particularly for the children today. So this is a special day, and do any of you children know what's special about today? Mother's Day! Thank you. It is indeed Mother's Day. And when I was a kid, I loved Mother's Day. That was because it was such a special day. One of the very special days in the course of the year. And here's why. On Mother's Day, early in the morning, my brothers and I would sneak to the kitchen, trying to be very quiet. When we were pretty small, our father would get up with us, but later it was just Paul, David, and me. We would try to be quiet and not wake Mom up, but you can imagine how well that worked out. First, we would get out a tray. There would be a certain amount of squabbling over which tray, but we would get out a tray, then go outside, pick some flowers. At this time of year, narcissus probably, and daffodils. And then we would get a glass with some water in it, hoping it was one that wouldn't tip over, and put the flowers in it and put those on the tray. We would get out a bowl and a spoon and a glass for orange juice and put them on the tray. Then we would put some cereal in a bowl, put another glass with milk in it, and then if we were really organized, we added a napkin. Then we would argue over who got to carry the tray. And eventually, we would take it up to Mom's door and wake her up. She was always so surprised that we were bringing her breakfast in bed. We would plump up a bunch of pillows for her so she could sit there in bed and give her her tray. Then we would scramble back to the kitchen, grab our own breakfast, and also go and get in bed with her and Dad. The whole family would have breakfast in bed. It was really fun and funny and full of love. So why am I telling you all this? Well, maybe to inspire you. Did any of you get up and fix Mom breakfast in bed this morning? No. Maybe next year. Think about it. But also because the very best magic words in the world are not abracadabra, but please and thank you. And we don't remember all the time to say thank you to the people who mother us. And that may not be just our mother, it may be our father or a big sibling or a grandparent or a teacher or a coach. Lots of people mother us. And it's a good way to say thank you to the people we might forget to thank sometimes. We light our chalice today in honor of all the people who mother us. May they be blessed as we are blessed to have them.
I would have needed to make my mother breakfast at 6:30 this morning, and I don't think she's up now. Please rise in body and or spirit. Number 51, Lady of the Season's Laughter. Lady of the season's laughter, in the summer's warmth be near. When the winter follows after, teach our spirits not to fear. Hold us in your steady mercy, Lady of the turning here. steady mercy, Lady of the turning day. Mother of the generations, in whose love all life is worth, everlasting celebrations bring our labor safe to birth. Hold us in your steady mercy, Lady of the turning earth. Of all time's progression, stand with us when we engage, hands and hearts to end oppression, writing history's fairer page. Hold us in your steady mercy, Lady of the turning age. Please be seated.
I'm going to invite all of our children to come up and join me, if you would like, or anyone else who'd like to. We have some cushions to sit on, or the stairs, wherever you would like. It's a waving kind of morning, I think so. So I'm going to tell you a story this morning about a friend called Bella. And Bella went to a church not unlike this church and learned all about a concept called the Golden Rule. Does anyone know the Golden Rule? Anyone out here know the Golden Rule? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So Bella learned all about this concept, and then that afternoon, she went home to her house, and there was a surprise waiting there for her. Her parents had brought home a baby donkey. Always a donkey. I don't know. Finn, it's confusing. These stories are always about donkeys. And this baby donkey had been found abandoned on a farm, and they were going to raise this baby donkey. So Bella watched her moms make a bed in the stable, and the bed had straw. Bella's thinking, do unto others, you would have do unto yourself. A bed of straw? Okay. And she's watching her moms, and they put some water in a bucket for this donkey. Bella's like, a bucket of water? And then she thinks, where's this donkey going to go to the bathroom? And her mom takes the donkey out in the field. Bella's thinking, do unto others as we'd have do unto ourselves. Have them do unto us. And then they feed the donkey some grass or some hay, some food that looks a little like alfalfa, doesn't look very appetizing. And then they tuck this baby donkey up in its stable, and everyone goes into the house for the night. And Bella goes to bed, and she's thinking, something doesn't seem quite right here, because my CYM teachers told me we're supposed to do unto others as we would have done unto ourselves. And I wouldn't want to live alone in a stable with straw, and I wouldn't want to drink out a bucket, and I wouldn't want to go to the bathroom in a field. And so Bella got out of her bed, snuck downstairs, went out into the stable, got the donkey, brought it into the house, opened up the fridge and thought, what would I want for dinner? I don't want alfalfa. I'd want some like pizza, French fries, maybe some soda. So she fixed this and fed it to the baby donkey. The donkey, I don't know, didn't look so happy with this situation. And then Bella took the baby donkey to the bathroom. The donkey was all sorts of confused. And then Bella took the baby donkey up to her bed and put the donkey in her bed and gave it a stuffy and put a quilt on it. And the donkey was like, I don't think so. Something's not right here. And then Bella's mom's heard, hee-haw, an angry donkey from the bedroom next door. So they went in and said, Bella, what are you doing with the donkey in the house? And Bella said, well, at Sunday school they taught me, do unto others as you would have done unto you. And I don't think our baby donkey wants to live outside because I wouldn't want to live outside. And I wouldn't want to go bathroom in a field. And I wouldn't want to eat hay and straw and whatever you fed that baby donkey. And Bella's mom said, you know, the golden rule is awesome, and it's been around for a long time, and it shows up in a lot of different faiths, actually. But there's kind of a new rule, and it's called the platinum rule. And the platinum rule is, do unto others as they would have done unto them. And what that means is, not everybody likes the same things, right? My favorite way to wake up in the morning is my 3-year-old friend to sneak in at 4 in the morning and jump in my head and scream in my face, right? That's my favorite way to wake up. Who would like that as a way to wake up? See? Laura would like it, no one else, right? So sometimes if we do unto others as we would like unto ourselves, it doesn't quite go well, because the donkey doesn't really want a pizza for dinner, right? Right? Right. So we're going to try, my invitation to all of you is to try out the platinum rule when you're thinking about the golden rule. Do unto others as they would have done unto themselves. And with that, we're going to sing our children out.
Children, may you go now in peace. Children, may you go now in joy. Love surrounds you on your way. Children, may you go now in peace. Children, may you go now in joy. Love surrounds you on your way.
Good morning. I'd like to begin with a litany for Mother's Day. Indochina, Korea, Iran, Laos, Lebanon, Bay of Pigs, Congo, Vietnam, Thailand, Korea again, Dominican Republic, Bolivia, Cambodia, Zaire, Afghanistan, Iran again, Libya, Lebanon again, Grenada, Libya again, Libya a third time, Panama, Gulf War I, Iraq, Somalia, Bosnia, Haiti, Kosovo, Sudan, and Afghanistan again, Afghanistan yet again, Nepal, Maghreb, Horn of Africa, Iraq again, Pakistan, Somalia again, Indian Ocean, Libya for the third time, Uganda, Iraq, again, Syria, Yemen, Libya, one more time, the Persian Gulf. Today I am speaking to the mother in all of us. You don't have to have given birth to be a mother, and I'm sure we could all list people of several genders who have mothered us in our own lives. I choose to believe today that Julia Ward Howe, in her Mother's Day proclamation, was speaking to that mother in all of us. In case you're not familiar with Julia Ward Howe's words, let me read you a portion of this exhortation written in 1870. Arise, all women who have hearts. Say firmly, we will not have great questions decided by irrelevant agencies. Soldiers shall not come to us reeking with carnage for caresses and applause. Our sons shall not be taken from us to unlearn all that we have been able to teach them of charity, mercy, and patience. We, women of one country, will be too tender of those of another country to allow our sons to be trained to injure theirs. From the devastated earth, a voice goes up with our own. It says, disarm, disarm. The sword is not the balance of justice. Blood does not wipe out dishonor, nor violence indicate possession. Let women now leave all that may be left of home for a great and earnest day of counsel with each other as to the means whereby the great human family can live in peace. I earnestly ask that a General Congress of Women without limit of nationality may be held to promote the alliance of the different nationalities, the amicable settlement of international questions, the great and general interests of peace. Julia Ward Howe's Mother's Day was not at all about Hallmark cards and overpriced roses from public radio. It was about making peace. And on this Mother's Day, we are gathered together to rededicate ourselves to ending that 75-year litany of American wars. Ending it. Ending it. But how do we do that? The Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, or WILF, has been trying to end war since 1915. We have sections all over the world, and still we have wars all over the world. So how can we respond to Julia Ward Howe's clarion call? How can we end war? To refocus and repurpose one of my favorite quotes from fellow WILF member Eleanor Roosevelt. Where, after all, does peace begin? In small places, close to home, so small and so close that they cannot be seen on any maps of the world. Yet they are the world of the individual person, the neighborhood we live in, the school or college we attend, the factory, farm, or office where we work. Such are the places where every man, woman, and child seeks peace. Unless peace has meaning there, it has little meaning anywhere. Without concerned citizen action to establish peace close to home, we shall look in vain for progress in the larger world. It is our job as members of First Parish Brewster to recognize the violence that is all around us right here at home. and commit to the ways we can end that violence. Look at our use of violent language, especially in these days of impatience and anger. As a congregation, we should commit to a weekend of education and training about nonviolent communication. We see discriminatory and often violent practices within law enforcement, bail decisions, jail sentences. We could commit to actually acting on the 8th principle we adopted last year and begin to carry out active, accountable efforts to end racism and all forms of oppression. Or seeing the 58,000 names on the Vietnam Memorial and remembering that during those same years, 51,000 American women were murdered, most often by men who professed to love them. We could commit, and we must, work to end the very real and persistent gender war. And given the events of this past week, we must recognize that one campaign in the war to control women, the limit on abortion availability, is only a preliminary front in the greater campaign to control the rights of all minority members. And what about the homophobic, racist, and transphobic taunts and incidents at our schools' athletic events and in their hallways? We need to move beyond these meeting house walls and show up to advocate for a universally peaceful atmosphere in our schools. We know that hunger and homelessness are also forms of violence inflicted by the greed and oppression of capitalism and patriarchy. Well, we do provide meals for St. Joseph's, and we serve at the Faith Family Kitchen, that's true. But how can we engage in ending the root causes of these violent scourges? Does First Parish need a housing advocacy program? Should we all commit to working in our church gardens to provide fresh food to folks in Brewster who are food insecure? It is our job as members of First Parish to recognize the violence that is all around us. Oh my word, I don't have my 4th page. So we're gonna do this from guesswork. It's our job. We need to move ahead. Julia Ward Howe, Eleanor Roosevelt, so many other women have spoken up and said, we must work for peace. That is our work. And today we gather here on Mother's Day, thinking of all the people who have mothered us, and recognize that it's now our turn to mother into existence a peaceable, just world.
I want to invite you to experience this heartfelt prayer for peace in your body. And I'll begin by telling you some phrases, and I'll ask you to physically demonstrate them with me. So we say, peace before us, peace behind us, peace under our feet. Ready? Peace before us, peace behind us, peace under our feet. Peace within us, peace over us. Let all around us be peace. Be mindful of your neighbors here. Let's do that second half one more time. Peace within us, peace over us. Let all around us be peace. And now let's try to sing that. Peace before us, peace behind us, peace under our feet. Peace within us, peace over over us, let all around us be peace. Peace before us, peace behind us, peace under our feet. Peace within us, peace over us, let all around us be peace. One last time. Peace before us, peace behind us, peace under our feet. Peace within us, peace over us, let all around us be peace. And now let's share together in a moment of silence, allowing that dream of peace to enfold us.
Oh
This reading comes from All About Love, written by Bell Hooks. The healing power of mind and heart is always present because we have the capacity to renew our spirits endlessly, to restore the soul. I am always particularly grateful to meet people who do not feel their childhoods were marked by unnecessary pain and suffering, by lovelessness. Their presence reminds me that we do not need to undergo anything dreadful to feel deeply, that we never need suffering to be imposed upon us by acts of violence and abuse. At times, we will all be confronted with suffering, an unexpected illness, a loss. That pain will come whether we choose it or not, and not any one of us can escape it. The presence of pain in our lives is not an indicator of dysfunction. Not all families are dysfunctional. And while it has been crucial for collective self-recovery that we have exposed and continue to expose dysfunction, it is equally important to revel in and celebrate its absence. Unless we can all imagine a world in which the family is not dysfunctional, but is instead a place where love abounds, we doom family life to be always and only a site of woundedness. In functional families, individuals face conflict, contradictions, times of unhappiness and suffering, just like dysfunctional families do. The difference lies in how these issues are confronted and resolved, in how everyone copes in the moment of crisis. Healthy families resolve conflict without coercion, shame, or violence. When we collectively move our culture in the direction of love, we may see these loving families represented more in the mass media. They will become more visible in all walks of daily life. Hopefully, we will then listen to these stories with the same intensity that we have when we listen to narratives of violent pain and abuse. When this happens, the visible happiness of functional families will become part of our collective consciousness.
Each week, we have the practice of splitting our offertory plate. Half of what is collected goes to the work of First Parish, and the other half goes to a worthy organization nominated by someone in the congregation. Today, our split plate goes to UU the Vote, a nonpartisan campaign to get out the vote and counteract voter suppression, launched by the UUA in 2020. Our congregation reached out to 13,000 volunteers during the 2020 election. This year, UU the Vote at First Parish has sent 2,200 postcards to voters in Texas, Alabama, Georgia, and North Carolina. This year's midterm election is crucial, and our work continues. There are a couple of ways you can give today. You can text to give. The number is in your order of service. You can put a check or cash in the offering basket, or for those streaming in, you can donate on our website. However you choose to give today, your generosity is appreciated. The offering will now be gratefully received.
Praise for the Son who by day gives us warmth and enlightens. Praise for the moon who the darkest night cheerfully brightens. These glittering stars shining from ages afar, driving away all that frightens.
it's here. The Flower Press by Penelope Shuttle. We bend over my old flower press, mother and young daughter, you full of excitement and chatter, me nervous as I open it after its years of dust gathering on the shelf. In here we discover the fastened flowers, the originals I remember placing carefully between the sheets of green blotting paper, fragments to me now, ghosts of flowers. The pressure has been too great for their lives to bear. Dry, frail, faded, each leaf, petal, and frond. I lay them one by one in your own hand, gathered and preserved from the years before you were born. To me, these flowers are flawed. For me, their place has been taken by you, my own flower, ever growing, changing. Am I right to warn you of their imperfections? Should I try to show you how lives may be grasped and, like these flowers, shut in, immobilized? Or am I bringing you too soon word of corruption, too much stillness? No matter, for you are not listening. With bright eyes, you say, aren't they beautiful? Can I press some too? Seeing only the beauty. So like pure air reaching into areas long since sealed off, now reclaimable, you lead me forward without fear. Deeper and deeper, you draw me into life. You make the dead come alive again by sensing how even the shadow of a flower may be perfect and so suffice.
Although over the years, Mother's Day has become a holiday which appears to exist for the purpose of shoring up the edible bouquet industry, it did begin as something far more profound. It began as a statement made by feminist activists at the turn of the 20th century, using the role allotted to women at the time as wives and mothers to speak out against the horrors of war. Mother's Day was declared a national holiday in 1907, notably during a period of American peacetime before the World Wars began. Julia Ward Howe's Proclamation, however, was published back in 1870 in response to the Civil War and calling for the amicable settlement of what she refers to as questions. There is something complicated about this, too, and we'll come to that later. For now, we will start from crediting Howe and her fellow activist Anna Jarvis with the courageous work of seeking an end to violence. And truly, they did make a difference. It's no small thing for us to be celebrating this holiday still 115 years later. I do have to wonder, though, if Howe and Jarvis would find their pride at this legacy somewhat discolored by the realization that today, war seems to be winning the war on war. Indeed, it is difficult not to be discouraged by the prevalence of violence in our world. A few weeks ago, we shared a prayer which named all of the ongoing global violent conflicts, and the printed list was 6 pages long. It isn't too controversial to agree that this is a problem that we would like to put an end to. But what can someone like you or I do? If inspiring a national holiday and appealing to the maternal bond has had so little measurable effect in the last century, then what hope is there? And on some level, it's true. If the only approach to peace we are taking is a direct end to war, there is not a whole lot of power that anyone in this room today has. To find a path to peace, first, we have to zoom out a little and take stock of the full picture of the presence of violence in our world. Because in truth, the force which motivates armed conflict is the same societal illness that dehumanizes Black and brown bodies. It's the same societal illness that threatens reproductive freedoms and freedoms of gender expression. It's the social corrosion that has disenfranchised through incarceration 3% of the US population. It is the corrupting power that has waged war on the well-being of queer and transgender children. It's what exercises control over women by telling them that their bodies are the wrong size, and men by telling them that their emotions are the wrong shape. It's the attitude which has demonstrated that 1 million preventable deaths is an acceptable cost to keep CEOs comfortable. All of this is connected, every part of it. And when we lay it all out like that, it feels overwhelming. Living as a person who cares deeply about human rights with headlines like these can make you feel like the only thing left to do is go argue with somebody on the internet. This behavior is caused by a dysfunctional relationship with the emotion anger, and we'll get to that later too. So I am up here this morning, in fact, bringing you a message of hope, or at least a message of a path forward. But that hope has to start in a hard place. Agency is the key to freedom, and we have to be honest with ourselves about how our own participation in this culture of violence is part of it, if we want to have the power to change it. And perhaps now you're thinking, wait a minute, I'm a good person. I believe in human rights and promote nonviolence. I've worked my whole life to make the world a better place. This is not on me. And you're right. You are a good person. I'm proud of you and what you've worked for. You're not to blame for what's wrong with the world, not by any means. But all change has to start with introspection. when we let go of the fear of accountability. It frees us up to claim power for good beyond what we imagine could be possible. This greed and disregard for human good that we are struggling against is not the result of some extra human force out there. Violence in all its forms is a human problem, and it's caused by humans, and it starts with humans. And more specifically, it starts at home with human children. One of our readings today was from the book All About Love by Bell Hooks. Hooks has a powerful capacity to observe the workings of the human experience and communicate these observations in a meaningful way. Earlier in the book, she talks more about the connection between family life and liberation from violence. I am mostly going to summarize here instead of quoting because some of her well-chosen words about childhood could bring up challenging memories that some people in this room might not be prepared to return to today. In a discussion of the tendency of parents to misattribute acts of violence to love in situations of discipline, Hooks recalls attending a social gathering where the topic of conversation turned to the practice of physical punishment. The parents in the room expressed their feeling that it was a necessity. She recalls one man who claimed that his own mother's punishments had been good for him. In the author's words, I interrupted him and suggested that he might not be the misogynist woman-hater he is today if he had not been brutally beaten by a woman as a child. Being hurt or abused by grown-ups when we are children has harmful consequences later in life. When we are children, our primary job is learning how to relate to other people and the world around us. We learn by example, based on how the adults in our life behave. When an adult who is close to us, like a family member or a caregiver, acts with violence, that violence is internalized. It becomes a part of our understanding of the world. And when we become adults, our internalization of that violence gets perpetuated. For many unhealed adults, we reify violent programming through punishing or bullying others. The power dynamic in which we first experienced that violence is often mirrored in the ways that we seek to exert domination and control over others who have less power than we do, from our own children to our employees, all the way to the rights of marginalized groups. In other cases, we have internalized violence by turning it in on ourselves. We demonstrate it through behaviors like negative self-talk, dieting, codependency, self-harm, substance abuse, poor boundaries, unchecked resentment, and passive aggression. At face value, this may seem to be the better option, but this type of violence is also contagious. The children in our lives pick up on it and they reflect it. The adults around us may also find that it reinforces their own dysfunctions, making it harder and harder to break free of this cycle. So if we can't help internalizing violence as children, and we can't help communicating our internalized violence as adults, then what hope is there? This is where that liberating sense of agency comes in. We owe it to ourselves and each other to break the cycle. And breaking the cycle has to come from our own healing. It is each of our responsibility to be honest with ourselves about our own wounding and patterns of behavior, to hold ourselves in compassion about the mistakes we have made because of our wounds, and to take steps towards repair. Some people do this with a counselor, and others in recovery or support groups. Some people find healing on a spiritual path, and some through time spent in nature. Some people read books, some write blogs, some create paintings or make music. There are only two certainties. It's never too late to start, and the work is never finished. The urgent necessity of this healing is also yet another reason why it's vitally important that people who do not want to have children or are not yet ready to have children should have access to the means to prevent unwanted birth. Attachment trauma begins in utero, and compelling people to give birth who do not want to be parents moves directly against the work of generational healing and nurturance. An important part of this healing process, in my experience, is getting square with anger. Anger is another maligned emotion like fear, but like fear, it does serve a sacred purpose. When allowed to function the way that it was meant to, anger is closely entwined with love. It's the part of us that knows when ourself or someone we love is being treated unjustly. It warns us that something isn't right, and it gives us a surge of physical energy in case we need to take protective action. Many of us have been told our whole lives that we are not allowed to be angry. As children, when we express anger, usually called a tantrum, we're shut down. Ironically, usually by an adult demonstrating through their own anger that the child in question has no power. Later, those of us who are assigned the category boy are often instructed that the only emotion allotted to us is anger, while those assigned the category girl are expected to remain perpetually angerless. When humans suppress their emotions, the emotions have a funny way of finding ways to escape, often in undesirable forms. If we never learn how to dance with our anger, it will show up when we least expect it, in the shape of violence towards the self or each other. One of my all-time favorite sources of wisdom is the book Love and Rage by radical queer Black Buddhist Lama Rod Owens. He says, anger is full of wisdom, and with the appropriate practice, anger can actually transform into wisdom, and that wisdom is deeply liberating. But as with anything else, we have to practice. Lama Rod continues, in my practice, anger arises out of tension. There is a tension between being hurt and wanting to take care of myself, but not knowing how to do that. This tension leans into energy that I get sucked up in, and I label that energy anger. The anger feels like it needs to be exerted, be directed somewhere. There's something that I have to blame, and if I can blame it and eradicate it, then maybe I will not feel angry anymore. Strangely enough, even when I did that, I still felt angry. I had to learn to turn my attention back to the hurt. Taking care of the woundedness was the path out of this suffering. Later in the book, Lama Rod engages in a conversation about pacifism and activism from the perspective of a marginalized person. He makes the important point that accepting oppression-related violence without resistance, whether targeting ourselves or others, is not, in fact, nonviolence. He says, sometimes peace is used to bypass the work, calling out the hypocrisy in expecting marginalized people to use their bodies to absorb physical violence. This expectation only serves the perpetuation of continued harm against those who are already being hurt. Sometimes peace has to come from love in the form of resistance. And this brings us back around to Julia Ward Howe and the Mother's Day Proclamation. In so many ways, her call to bring an end to violent conflict comes from a place of wisdom and compassion. However, something doesn't sit right with me about the call arising in response to the Civil War to have a genteel discussion instead of outright conflict. Genteel discussions among white people were the status quo which kept slavery happening. The Civil War was the awful, grisly vehicle by which our country finally moved toward ending the incomparable violence of the enslavement of Black bodies. This dehumanization and exploitation was an indispensable part of the Southern economy, and they had fully demonstrated that they would not see it ended except by force. The Civil War was one of the more necessary wars in our country's history, and I'm uncomfortable looking back from the perspective of today with the way that the Mother's Day Proclamation centers the pain of white people. I'm not saying that we should throw the Mother's Day Proclamation away altogether, but when we do lift it up, we also need to read critically. We need to hold this important work in a nuanced way. So today, in honor of the Mother's Day for Peace, I am asking you to be courageous in your willingness to explore the cycles where violence has a hold in your life. Where is healing needed in your spirit? How does this legacy play out in your family? When is it coming with you into your communities? What manifestations of oppression can you begin to dismantle with an everyday commitment to making peace within yourself? Holding ourselves and each other in infinite compassion, let us prepare ourselves to the path of turning a violent world toward a better future. Let's find inspiration in the legacy of our final hymn, a song which arose from a women's workers' protest called Bread and Roses, which reminds us that as human beings, we deserve the right not only to survive, but to live with all the goodness that human life has to offer.
Please rise in body and or spirit. We sing 109 as we come marching, marching. As we come marching, marching in the beauty of the day, a million darkened kitchens, 1,000 workshops gray, are touched with all the radiance that a sudden sun discloses for the people here are singing bread and roses, as we come marching, marching, we battle to for men, for they are women's children, and we mother them again. Our lives shall not be sweated from birth until life closes. Lord, starve as well as bodies, give us bread, but give us roses. As we come marching, marching, unnumbered women dead, oh, crying through our singing their ancient songs of bread. Small art and love and beauty, where touching spirits do. Yes, it is bread and fight for, but we fight for roses too. As we come marching, marching, we bring the greater day. Rising of the women means rising of the race. No more the drudge and idler, till an hour where once reposes, but a sharing of life's glories, bread and roses, bread and roses.
Words of our benediction come from Reverend Mark Mosher DeWolf. With what benediction shall I leave you? This: in your life may you know the holy meaning, the mystery that breaks into it every moment. May you live at peace with your world and at peace with yourself, and may the love of truth guide you in your everyday. Amen.
absolutely nailed it. Great job. Hey, way to go, man. Are you hustling me? Is that what you're doing? That was great. He's hustling me.
Anyway, have a great day. Beautiful movement, thank you. Nice, thank you.
gonna do? I don't want to go without a hug.
Lucy Banner.